everybody? You're listening to this week's Custom Roofing and Construction Bearcat pregame show. We're going to start this week by recapping last week's district victory over Boyd. Then we're going to move into our interview this week with Coach Jeff Price of the cross-country teams and the boys basketball. And then we're going to move on and preview our district championship matchup Friday night at home against the Brock Eagles. It'll also be senior night Friday night at Massey Stadium. So those seniors will have a chance to walk off the field one more time as district champions. But before we do all that, let's go ahead and dive right in to the recap of the Boyd victory. Final, Bearcats 56, Yellow Jackets 28. Pilot Point moves to 7-2 on the year and 6-0 in district. Another record-setting night by Aiden Cox. Aiden eclipsed 1,000 yards on the season, and he actually leads Texas high school football in receiving yards with 1,307 yards on the season. I think that is just the coolest thing, seeing that tweeted out this week, that he's the leading receiver in Texas high school football, all classifications.
Which is just a cool thing to see. But back to Friday night against Boyd. The Bearcats played well enough to win Friday night, obviously, but I feel like Aiden's monster night might have overshadowed some mistakes that were made on Friday night. But I actually think that making mistakes the week before you play Brock is a good thing. Hear me out. The Bearcats still got the big win, which is important, but there are going to be quite a few things that they see watching film this week and how they could clean it up and improve. I think it'll be clear to all of them that they could be and will need to be better to compete with Brock this week. Take the flip side of this, in Brock's situation, Brock played what had to be the perfect game last week. They won by 73 points. We know they'll be confident, but as the late great Coach Rob Best used to tell us all the time, you either get better or worse. You don't stay the same. I find it hard-pressed that Brock will be able to watch their film from Friday night and be able to get any better from it. So back to the Bearcats and their situation. How do you think the Bearcats have handled their last two tune-up games to prepare for this big matchup against Brock?
Well, Ryan, I think they went about as well as we could have expected, since we got the 65-14 win over Ponder and a 56-28 win now against Boyd, against a sophomore quarterback that ended up he could really sling it, and he's got a bright future, and obviously we didn't prepare for him. But I think that actually helped us prepare more for the pass-happy offense that we're going to see against Brock, at least more pass-happy than they've been in the past. So obviously you have to love the stretch of football that Aidan Cox has put up. As you mentioned, 1,307 yards, just an incredible season so far. If I have any concerns really about it would be about our consistency of our blocking and rushing attack. I think Ish was our leading rusher with only 41 yards on 11 carries against Boyd. So I think we'll have to do more. We'll have to see more from Ish and Gage and Wyatt on the ground to keep that Brock offense off the field this Friday night.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be important to get the run game going so they can't just totally rely on the pass rush to slow us down. But let's go ahead and get into the stats for both teams on last Friday night. Pilot Point, 360 yards passing, 81 yards rushing for a team total of 441 yards. Boyd passed for 274 yards. They had 64 rush yards for a team total of 338. Individual stat leaders, Wyatt Smith, 16 of 22, 353 yards and 5 touchdowns. He did throw the interception at the end of the first half in kind of just a desperation attempt to try to, get points before the half. Didn't hurt us at all. Ish had 11 carries, 41 yards, no touchdowns on the night. And like we stated, the story of the night, Aiden Cox, 11 catches, 310 yards, 4 touchdowns. And that doesn't even count the 70-yard punt return that for the touchdown that you called on this show last week. Boyd's individual stat leaders, that sophomore or junior quarterback, McIntyre, is he a sophomore or is he a junior? Sophomore quarterback McIntyre, 15 of 35, so the percentage wasn't great, but he did throw for 274 yards and 3 touchdowns. He threw an interception as well to Stephen Rodas. Ferguson, the running back, 23 carries, 73 yards and a touchdown. Turner, their wide receiver, had 8 catches, 176 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had a night for himself right there. Not often you go for 176 yards and 2 touchdowns and are a complete afterthought, because what another receiver did that night.
But speaking of Aiden's night, we won't have the numbers to 100% verify this until this summer, but it seems pretty obvious to us that Aidan Cox set the single-game receiving record last Friday night with 310 yards receiving. And for all we know, he may be 1, 2, and 3 in the record books when it's put together with multiple 200-yard games and then this 310-yard performance. So he's stringing together history, what seems week in, week out.
So we talked about having 2 tune-up games before we play Brock for the district championship. We're through both of those games now with 2 big wins, and the inevitable is here. The start of the year, you look at the schedule, and we were thinking that if everything goes right for us, this is exactly where we'd be. A district championship matchup to close the season this coming Friday night against Brock. Have the Bearcats done everything they could do to be as ready as they could possibly be for Friday night?
Yeah, other than being completely healthy in a couple of spots and having a real consistent, dependable rushing attack, Ryne, I do think our Bearcats have done what they're supposed to do, and I like the improvement that we've seen in our passing attack all season long and overall in our defense. I really think, and I mean absolutely no disrespect to the Brock Eagles in this, but I think we've already played against the best opponent that we're going to see the entire season at Massey Stadium, and that was, a big loss in the 59-6 game against the Gunner Tigers. So, and I think Gunner's going to go on and win state in their division as long as they stay healthy. I'd like to think that game was a wake-up call, and ever since then we've rattled off 6 straight district victories. So, we best be ready because we've got the number 2 ranked team in state, the Brock Eagles, coming into Massey Stadium on Friday night regardless.
Yeah, it's going to set up to be an exciting one. Something we started on the show last week, the Custom Roofing and Construction Bearcat pregame show Player of the Week. And this is the second week we've done it, and this is the second week that Aidan Cox is going to be the winner of that award, receiving 81% of the vote. You don't want to give the Player of the Game award to the same guy every week, but man, I mean, you just absolutely cannot ignore 310 yards, 5 total touchdowns on the night for him. So some congratulations to him. He is still the only winner of the award. So we'll see. Hopefully we're celebrating and giving him a third or somebody else the award next week when we do this show. That should do it for this week's recap of our district win over Boyd last week. So we're going to go to a commercial and come back on the other side with Coach Jeff Price.
Hey Bearcat fans, living in North Texas, you know all about bad weather. When bad weather does strike, look no further than James Floyd's Custom Roofing and Construction. Custom Roofing and Construction has built their business off of quality work and customer referrals. Let their friendly and knowledgeable staff ensure the project runs smoothly from start to finish. You can visit Custom Roofing and Construction on their website, customroofingdallas.com, or give them a call at 214-274-8353.
And we're back on the Custom Roofing and Construction Bearcat pregame show. This week's guest is a guy who wears many hats: head cross-country coach, head boys basketball coach, bus driver extraordinaire, Coach Jeff Price. Thanks for joining us this week, Coach.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so, I know it's not quite basketball season, and you're at the end of cross-country season, so I know Addison Height runs this weekend. Before we get into that, walk us through how the cross-country season went for everyone.
We had a good season. We're in a real tough district. I know our teams didn't get out this year. The 3 teams that got out on our boys and girls side were 3 of the 4 teams at state. Our district is crazy tough. It's considered the best district in the state. There are 38 girls that make it to state from our region. 23 of them came from our district. So the other 7 districts came up with 15 kids. Our one district alone came up with 23. Same thing on the boys' side. I think it was 22 boys from our district made it to state. The other 7 districts came up with 16. So our district is just real tough. And so, I know both teams finished 5th. They were a little disappointing, but had they been in any other district in the region, they easily would have made it to regional. So I'm still proud of them. I'm real excited about Addison moving on. She's PR'd the last 2 races, so we're excited to see what she can do at state.
So talking about Addison, I believe I got this right. She's just a sophomore, right?
Yes, sir.
So she went to the state meet last year as a freshman. She's going back again this year. Remind us how she did last year, and then when does she run at the state meet, and what are her goals for this meet?
She runs Friday at 10 in Round Rock. In fact, we leave tomorrow, Thursday, so she'll run Friday, and then we'll drive down tomorrow. She'll kind of get on the course the day before. She'll run Friday morning at 10. Last year, she finished 11th, so just outside of that top 10. So that's obviously her goal going into it this year. She would love a top 10 finish going into it, and that's kind of her goal. And we've kind of looked at the region's times on where she's at, and she's going to be somewhere right around that top 10 area. So we're excited, and she's excited to see if she can get in that top 10.
Yeah, I know a lot of these more individual sports. I don't have a background in cross country, but in powerlifting, I know you just want to get there, and when you get there, you never know what's going to happen. Somebody could, you don't want anything bad, but somebody could trip. Somebody could just not have it their day. You could have so it's all about getting there. So I'm excited for her to see her running. Her only being a sophomore, she's got two more years after this, so that's exciting.
I've had two girls place, and they always place their second year. It's like the first year they just kind of get the experience and figure out how the pace of the state meet and all that. And so I'm hoping she seems she understands it a little bit more experience this year, and I can tell she's going into it with a little bit more confidence because she knows the course like the back of her hand now. She actually went up there earlier in the year and ran they had just an invitational there, so she ran it again. So she's super confident going into this, and so hopefully she'll get in that top.
Coach, does Addison have any offers yet, or is it too early being a sophomore?
It's a little too early still being a sophomore. So she hasn't really run a bunch of 5Ks yet. We'll have her run some 5Ks. 5A and 6A girls run 5Ks, 4A and under run too. So she'll need to run a few 5Ks just to show the schools, colleges, what she can do. And she'll run a really good 5K time too. So over the next couple of years, she'll run a few 5Ks. So she'll, get a time for that. I'm assuming she's going to get some calls coming these next couple of years.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. So how far do y'all run in these meets?
The girls they'll run 2 miles. 4A and under run 2 miles. But 6A and 5A, they run a 5K. So kind of one of those weird deals in recruiting. Sometimes the recruiters want to see what the girl can actually run a 5K in. And so she's already went under 12 minutes, which is going to impress them. And so she'll run a solid 5K time, and I'm sure she'll get some offers. She'll get offers.
Well, that's definitely exciting. But pivoting a little bit, let's talk Bearcat basketball. So y'all are coming off consecutive playoff appearances. Give us a Bearcat basketball preview this year.
We're excited. We got some guys in football, so we got to wait for everybody to get out. Obviously, one of the guys y'all talk about every Friday night, Aiden Cox. Obviously, he'll be a 4-year starter. He's already started his first 3 years, so we're waiting on him. Cade Carter's got some experience. Crew Chandler. Those are kind of the football guys we're waiting on, and then the guys I've got in the gym. Rowdy Robinson had a great year last year. Started all the games but 3, and so moving into a sophomore point guard role, I'm excited about him. Dylan Gann's coming back. They went 11-1 in their summer league, and so they had a lot of success in summer league, just playing, not ever really practicing. And so I'm excited to really get in the season. Hopefully it'll be about 6 weeks from now, but when they finally get in the season, I'm excited to have them.
Yeah, so I'm assuming we're going to play more games this year. Last year y'all had, I guess y'all didn't play tournaments was the difference. So early in the season when you have a lot of guys still in football, hopefully, that's kind of tournament season. Are y'all going to play some tournaments this year?
Yeah, tournaments. I think we ended up with 21 games total last year. You typically end up with about 30. If you go to somewhere around the first round, and the district first round is right about 30. So we lost almost 8 to 10 games somewhere last year. So, usually tournament season typically starts somewhere around the 4th round of football playoffs. So I think last year, if they lost in the 4th round, the first tournament of the season would have been that next week. So that's about where tournament season starts. And so I've got enough kids this year. We're playing even without the football kids. Sometimes I've had to wait. So we'll go ahead and get games in, whether the football guys are there or not. And whenever they come join us, we'll just get ready to rock and roll with everybody else.
Coach, you guys playing in the Cook County Holiday Classic this year?
They actually aren't having it this year. It's the first time in a long time. Callisburg, we're actually going to go to the Christmas tournament in Callisburg, and it's mainly basically the NCTC tournament. A lot of the teams that went to the Cook County Classic are now going to go to the Callisburg tournament.
Yeah, because this is the part of the show where I go full Coach Marsh pat on the back mode, and I was going to tell you that I know a guy that won MVP at the Cook County Classic back in 1993.
1993.
Yeah, of course, Lance Goodrum was already graduated, so I didn't have to worry about anybody passing me the ball. I just took it myself.
When he was there, he probably didn't pass it to you very much.
No, but he was an over dribbler, and everybody was impressed with his dribbling skills, so nobody ever saw how open I was.
Yeah, I had a guy on my team. They weren't impressed with his dribbling skills. He was just impressed with his own shooting skills. We'll let everybody figure out who that is later.
Yeah.
My basketball credentials basically begin and end with I beat Michael Pelzel once in one-on-one, all area player. I beat him. He's probably not going to listen to this, but every chance I get, I let him know that I beat him. I always tell him I didn't play just because I didn't like all the conditioning. So
I feel like you backed him down. Ryan, I feel like you backed him down and just use your grown man strength and kind of bully him underneath. Is that right?
No, he's a pretty good sized fella and he's got long arms. I had some skill, man. I was a Dirk, man. I had a lot of finesse in my game. I was picked first for pickup at LA Fitness once. That was probably even more of a highlight than beating Michael was LA Fitness. I was picked first.
There's some good games at LA Fitness. That's a pretty good recommendation if you got picked first. They have some good games.
Yeah, I earned it. I played some games before the picks went, and I got picked first. But once we started those games, I was kind of a bust. But you can't take that first pick from me, though. So I do have another question that I thinking back to my football days, we wore the same black pants every week. We had one, and this isn't football, one white jersey, one black jersey. Now I see they have orange pants, white pants, black pants. Same with the jerseys. Are y'all rocking good combinations, or are y'all kind of keeping it simple?
For the first time ever, I've got 4 different sets of uniforms. We've got our home whites, and we have road black, orange, and gray uniforms. We actually have 4 different sets of uniforms now that we can wear. So the kids are really excited about the uniform choices this year.
We had to fundraise because we wanted to change to black helmets. We had to raise our own money to do that. Man, who's paying for all this?
We had someone step up and they wanted to get the guys on the uniform, so they took care of us.
Now that's awesome. Being in the booth, I love seeing all the different color combinations. I'm just jealous. I love it. I think it's awesome.
Hey, the kids are going back to the short shorts. Are you going short shorts, Coach?
Well, against what I believe in, the kids did want shorter shorts than normal, so we did go a little bit shorter shorts on all the uniforms because that's what it's crazy. Back in the day, that I had to go buy new shorts because everybody wanted long shorts. Now they're doing all the roll up stuff, so that which looks bad when they roll shorts up. So we're having to get all shorter shorts now, which everybody wants to show their knees. I don't get it, but that's what they want. So.
Well, that's all the questions I have for you, Coach, unless John wants to close out with something.
Yeah, I just got one more. I touched on I played with the over dribbler back in my days, Lance Goodrum. But, Coach, if you had to point out one guy in Pilot Point High School basketball history that never met a shot that he didn't like to take, why would you pick Jimmy Rogers as that one guy?
God.
Why'd you choke there at the beginning?
It's hard to get that name out, but I'd have to probably go with Jimmy. I'm sure Travis Todd and Kristen Gino would probably agree with me in that question.
Yeah, the best decision Travis Todd ever made, other than becoming my brother-in-law, is passing the ball to Chris DeGino in that playoff game versus Jimmy. Because now DeGino is my hero, and man, I don't know if you want to break it to Jimmy later on, but he's definitely not the best number one. And I don't know in Pilot Point football history anymore. It's got to be Aidan Cox after the season he's having, wearing that jersey number one.
That is so fun to watch every Friday. Man, I hope he keeps doing what he's doing for the next 6 weeks. That is so fun to watch. Thought he was going to have a breakout year. I just had no idea it was going to be as great of a year as he's having. I hope he does the same in basketball.
Yeah, I'm convinced he went for 300 yards this week because there was a misunderstanding. I think when somebody told him he was 3 yards shy of 1,000, he thought they said 300 yards shy. So he went out and put up 300 yards to make sure he could get it.
Any decision Wyatt makes throwing him the ball, whether he's double covered or not, it's hard to argue.
That's what we talked about. He's a cheat code, man. But, Coach, we appreciate you spending some time with us tonight. We'll be looking for the results Friday afternoon of Addison running. Good luck down there. Good luck to y'all in basketball season this year. And I'm sure we'll see you patrolling the sideline Friday night.
Yeah, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. I'll be back in time for the Brock game.
Awesome. See you there, Coach.
Good coach.
Have a good one, fellas.
Hey Bearcat fans, living in North Texas, you know all about bad weather. When bad weather does strike, look no further than James Floyd's Custom Roofing and Construction. Custom Roofing and Construction has built their business off of quality work and customer referrals. Let their friendly and knowledgeable staff ensure the project runs smoothly from start to finish. You can visit Custom Roofing and Construction on their website, customroofingdallas.com, or give them a call at 214-274-8353.
And we're back on the Custom Roofing and Construction Bearcat pregame show. It was fun to visit with Coach Price. It's so fun doing this show and this broadcast with you because being a small town, we come from different eras, but you and I have seemed to know a lot of the same people in different ways, and I think that's kind of a pretty neat thing, you know. So Coach Price came to town when I was in high school and became a coach at Pilot Point when I was in high school, so I got to know him through that. But he's a Pilot Point grad. He's a few years younger than you, and I know y'all go way back. So it's just kind of fun getting to interact with these people who we both know from different ways.
Yeah, no doubt. He was a freshman when I was a senior, and he's best friends with my brother-in-law, and my wife was best friends with his sister growing up. So we got a lot of connections there. Jeff's a good guy. Coach Price is a great guy.
Oh, I love talking to him. He always brings so much energy and got that big old smile on his face, so it's fun to talk to him. But now we're going to get ready to preview this week's matchup against the Brock Eagles. So Pilot Point is through 6 district games, and it's gone as good as it could be. We're 6-0. We clinched a playoff spot 2 weeks ago, but we've turned our sights to something greater. Our eyes have now moved to winning the District 4 3A championship. That's exactly what is on the line Friday night at home, senior night. And these seniors have a chance to walk off Massey Stadium one final time as the district champions. That being said, it'll be a tremendous challenge and one we'll have to dig deep for. Depending on who you ask, Brock Eagles are either ranked number 1 or 2 in 3A Division 1. They have it rolling right now as they enter Friday night 9-0 in the season, 6-0 in district. They have been a machine this year, outscoring teams 52-11 on average. Their closest game has been 19 points. You know, when you're on this side of it, it's a pretty daunting thing to look at when you're the next opponent on their list. But that being said, if the Bearcats can make this a game late, how can the lack of close games affect Brock if this one is close in the fourth quarter? Last year it was a very similar thing for Brock, and in their first close game deep in the playoffs, they couldn't mount a comeback against Jim Ned. I know Jim Ned had something to do with that. But what do you think their lack of close games could result in if this is a close one late?
All right, I think it's a great point. I think there were 3 main contributing factors that really cost Brock in their upset loss to Jim Ned in the third round of the playoffs last season. Number 1, I think they relied so heavily on Cash Jones all season. He was a great player. He's at Georgia now. And he played really well in that game against Jim Ned, but unfortunately he had a couple of long TD runs called back on penalties. So if you look at the box score, he wasn't as impressive as he was in other games. But if you added those other touchdown runs back in, he had the same numbers. And then number 2, they ran into just a really determined Jim Ned team with a stud running back of their own, Xavier Wishart, and they ended up dominating the time of possession in that game, and they got a lead, and they were able to kind of ground it out. And then number 3, Brock had really a lack of a consistent passing attack all year. They kind of tried to work on that at the end of games, and Cash Jones and the offensive line appeared to be gassed late in the game, and they didn't really have a go-to passing threat. So I think the advantage really goes to our Bearcats in a close game in the fourth quarter. We just have to get there. We've been battle-tested in that double overtime win against the Borough. And if we are close in the fourth quarter, I'm going to assume that Ish and Gage have had very solid running games to go along with our cheat code, Aiden Cox, through the air. So, I like our chances. We just have to get to the fourth quarter and make sure it is a close game because, as you mentioned, Brock has played so well, and even last year they were just blowing teams away, so they didn't have many close fourth quarters.
Yep, so Brock has been a powerhouse since Pilot Point alum Chad Worrell got the program started. Since he got the program started, Pilot Point has only beaten Brock once, but it was in 2019 at home for the district championship. So, it's kind of setting up to be potentially deja vu, getting another opportunity at home to be crowned district champions. Coach Worrell is not in Brock anymore, so, that's pretty well known. Brock did go through a coaching change this year. But have the schemes changed at all? What sort of offenses and defenses do they run? Is it similar? What do they got over there?
Yeah, their new head coach is Billy Mathis, and the schemes have changed quite noticeably, especially on offense. Ryan, you'll notice that last year was more like the ground and pound military style offense, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, except they went about 15 yards every play, not 3 yards. And this year it's an obvious change as they've gone to a spread style offense, mainly 4 wide. They will use their big tight end, Nathan Jones, as a slot receiver, but also a tight end. So sometimes they put him on the line of scrimmage. But it's usually just a one-back set, and they've got Cutter Wilson back there as their stud running back this year. And, so it's vastly different than what they had last year, and it's obvious that they're really working on getting the ball downfield and throwing the ball a lot more often. Now, defensively, they're a little, it's just subtle differences there. They used to run more of a Pilot Point style defense. But now they're in a 4-3. They're very aggressive, and they're very, very stable and very disciplined in what they do. And that's very similar to what they were last year. But they've got I looked it up, it's like 47 tackles for losses or something ridiculous this year. And so they're putting a lot of pressure on other teams and making tackles in the backfield. And they play good. They just play good, sound, solid defense across the board. Special teams haven't been anything spectacular, but they haven't really been called on to do anything spectacular.
Yeah. Well, I know, I saw I'm sure you're going to get to them players to watch, but the Minnesota commit, Jones, the tight end.
Absolutely.
So I saw he had himself a day last Friday night, but I'm sure so did pretty much anybody on that Brock team, considering they just beat Peaster 80-7. I don't think you can look too much into that. I think just similarly what we saw against Gunner earlier in the year, sometimes those games get away from you so quick that it just kind of, you don't get your best effort ever out there because you just fall behind so quick. It's kind of over before it began. So I think that's probably what happened to Peaster. I know a lot of people coming to see this game Friday night, all hoping for a competitive matchup. And for it to be a competitive matchup, I'm sure there are some players to watch in that are going to have to try to make that happen. So, John, who are your players to watch?
Yeah, absolutely, Ryan. So for the Brock Eagles, number 6, he's a junior. He's the quarterback, defensive back, Tyler Moody. He's had 110 completions out of 167 attempts, 1,751 passing yards. He's throwing at a 66% completion rate. He's thrown for 28 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions, so he really takes care of the ball. He's got on the ground. He's got 54 carries for another 349 yards and 8 touchdowns. So he can pass it and he can run it, and he's done a great job at quarterback. That's Tyler Moody, number 6. Their stud running back is number 21, senior Cutter Wilson. He's listed at 5'11", 190, runs a 4.6 40. He's this season's Cash Jones. He's got 158 carries for 1,377 yards, 19 touchdowns on the ground. Last year he had 1,522 yards and 20 touchdowns as a junior, so he's backing up that season pretty well. He's got another 6 receptions for 114 yards and 1 receiving touchdown, and he's only got 1 tackle on the year, so they really save him for offense. That's number 21, Cutter Wilson. He's a really standout running back. And then they've got Elijah Potts seems to be the favorite target of Tyler Moody. He's number 12, wide receiver, defensive back. He's got 36 receptions for 561 yards and 11 touchdowns receiving. He's also a threat returning the ball on kickoffs and punts. And he's been on 23 tackles defensively, so he'll play some defensive back. And then they've got 2 real big guys that really stand out. And you mentioned him, number 88, the big senior tight end, defensive end, Nathan Jones. He's listed at 6'6", 240, runs a 4.8. He recently, as you mentioned, decommitted from ACU Abilene Christian to commit to the University of Minnesota, coached by P.J. Fleck, who we're both a fan of. He's got 29 receptions on the year for 424 yards and 9 touchdowns. So he's a huge target, and he's a sizable human. And then they've got number 75, another big man, senior offensive line, defensive lineman, Caden Matthews. He's listed at 6'3", 230, running a 4.7 40. He's a big right tackle that anchors their solid offensive line, and he's got 11 sacks on the year defensively. Defensively, he's got 42 tackles, and 17 of those tackles are for loss. So this guy is a man-child. Caden Matthews, number 75. And that's it for the Brock Eagles. For our Pilot Point Bearcats, of course, it's the usual suspects. Number 5, junior quarterback, defensive back, Wyatt Smith. He's thrown for 2,001 yards on the season, 57% completion rate, 17 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions. So I've really been impressed with the way Wyatt continues to lead this team and his ability to really take care of the football. He did have a 1 interception against Boyd, but as we know, that was kind of a Hail Mary at the end of the half, just trying to force something into the end zone with limited amount of time on the clock. And Wyatt also has 316 yards rushing and 6 touchdowns on the ground, so he continues to improve on his running game. And then, of course, number 21, Ish Harris, senior defensive back, running back. He's got 111 carries for 722 yards on the season, 13 touchdowns on the ground, and he's getting more involved in the pass receptions this season with 13 receptions for 145 yards and a touchdown. And of course, defensively, we'll line him up at linebacker, free safety. He has the ability to change the game with a big interception or a big forced fumble. He's been doing a good job of getting his hand in there trying to force fumbles this year. And then the guy we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, of course, is number 1, the Ice King, Aiden Cox, senior, 6'3", 195, runs 4.6 40. I mean, not much else you need to say about the guy other than he's having the most prolific receiving season in Pilot Point history for sure. 1,307 yards already and 13 touchdowns. And, you know, he's our punter. He's defensive end. He does it all. So he's going to have to do it again Friday against the Brock Eagles. Those are the players to watch.
145 yards per game average receiving so far this year for Aidan Cox. You know, the most prolific season a Pilot Point Bearcat has had receiving. But right now it's the most prolific season a receiver's having in Texas high school football. So he's having himself a year, and he's going to have to do it all, you know, on Friday night. He's going to have to win, and if we have the opportunity to punt, he's going to have to get good punts. He's going to have to rush the passer. If they try to throw a swing pass over him, he's just got to keep doing what he's been doing all year and just causing chaos. So he's got to be, you know, one of the major, you know, the players to watch, but key to the game on trying to get this win. And speaking of that, let's go to you for our patented John's 3 keys of the game.
Yes, sir, Ryan. Key number 3. So key number 3, I think our Pilot Point Bearcats really have to be on the plus side of the turnover battle in order to win this thing on Friday. I saw that Dave Campbell's has us as 20-point underdogs, and I heard Professor Diggs talk about in his 4A show, or District 4 3A show, talking about he calls it a win if Pilot Point only loses by 3 scores. I know that kind of upsets guys like you and I, because we're used to, hey, we're the Pilot Point Bearcats. We don't lose by 21 and call that a win.
No moral victories here.
Absolutely. So, I will say that Brock is certainly the favorite. They are number 2 in state, according to Dave Campbell's. Jim Ned is number 1, and they're a solid team, and they beat us handily last year on their turf. But this year I think we're going to need a couple key interceptions, maybe a fumble recovery, maybe a Wyatt Smith pick 6 or an Ish Harris pick 6 to get things going. So that's key number 3. Is we got to win that turnover battle. Yep, and key number 2 is I think we got to win at the line of scrimmage. We've been very praiseworthy of our pass rush all season long, so we've got to keep that up. But I think that the thing that we need to look for on Friday night is how well we keep number 75 and the Brock Eagles out of our backfield, and we keep Wyatt Smith clean in order to throw the ball to Aidan Cox and Ish Harris. I think that we'll line both of them up on opposite sides. It'll be interesting to see how Brock lines up and how they game plan for Aidan Cox, because I'm sure they've been watching film lately. But Wyatt's got to have time to get the ball out of his hands and get the ball into our playmakers' hands, Aidan Cox and Ish Harris. So that's key number 2. And key number 1. This year, Halloween fell on a weekend. Me and the Bearcats are trick-or-treating, robbing little boys for bags, till the Brock Eagles got behind our rags. So we speeded up the pace, took a look back, and Brock was right before our face. We be in for a squabble, no doubt, so we swung and tried to take them out. They was going down, we planned, but this wasn't no ordinary man. They stood about 6 or 7 feet. Now that's a Brock we'll be seeing in our sleep. So I'm taking a little liberty. Obviously, Halloween's over, but I had to get one more in.
My favorite old school rap song ever right there, Ghetto Boys. That's my favorite.
Absolutely. My mind is playing tricks on me. The Ghetto Boys from 1991. We Can't Be Stopped album.
That's my favorite verse of that song, too. That part.
Yeah.
That is my favorite verse of my favorite old school rap song.
Bushwick Bill, he's genius. So anyways, what I mean by that is obviously we're playing Goliath this week, and talks about the man standing 6 or 7 feet. And, they got a couple of Goliaths with Nathan Jones and number 75, that big man Caden Matthews. So, we've got to, I think we've got to punch them in the mouth early. We got to score early. We got to stay with them. And we got to put some adversity on them and see how they handle it. Now, the only time that Brock was tested this year really was against Whitesboro. It was 21-21 at halftime, so Whitesboro gave them a heck of a game, and I think they outscored Whitesboro 21-0 in the second half. But we're right there with Whitesboro, and we're at home. We should take advantage of it. Like I said, we've got Goliath in front of us, and we just have to play up, and we have to do it. We have to do it together. I think that Ish Harris is going to have a huge game. I'm not one of those people that thinks that Ish Harris had to carry the team up until this point, but I will say, with all the accolades that Aidan Cox has been getting over the last couple of weeks, I think that should free up Ish Harris to have a great game, and I think he's going to need to. I think we're going to have to really establish that running game with Ish and Gage, and really establish our offense in order to beat this powerhouse Brock Eagle football team.
Well, it's gonna set up for the opportunity to be an amazing night for the Bearcats. Just thinking about this offense, kind of what you just hit on there at the end. It's easy to stop a run game that has no threat of the pass. It's easy to stop a passing game that has no threat of a run. So we're going to need to see what we've been seeing from Aidan Cox the last 6 weeks, and we're going to need to see Ish Harris's best come Friday night. And if we can get both of those and play some defense, we have a shot to in Friday night district champs. So I'm excited for that. We'll be there. We'll be there early. I'm sure it's going to be a busy night. I know hearing Chance and Travis talk about some of the sideline guys being out. A lot of press people, local high school press people out, going to be covering this game. And, we're going to be there bringing it live to you. So make sure you're following Bearcat social media. So, we got the PopPointBearcats.com. They got their Facebook, their Twitter. We have our Twitter, Bearcat Broadcast. Still, trending up on Twitter, gaining some followers. Should be easier to find. 7:30 Friday night at Massey Stadium, senior night. Opportunity to win a district championship. I'm excited, and we will see all you guys there. So that's all we have for you tonight. Go Bearcats!
Go Bearcats.